You're listening to Startup Stories on Good Morning Delhi with Sarthak.
And what a lovely thing you're doing, listening, because listening is great. It gives you things to think about, and thinking is wonderful. You should try that activity a little more. But what we're trying to do, of course, is trying to give you the story of those who thought it would be a good idea to sort of take that leap of faith in the idea that they had. Startup Stories, of course, tells you the stories of those who have literally walked the talk. And today, of course, we've got the wonderful Geetanjali with us. Geetanjali is the founder of Fertility Dose. Helps couples who are finding it difficult to have children conceive through IVF, and it's of course what we can tell you is all that we have read on the internet, but those will just be words. They won't be animated by the blood, sweat and tears of the true startup founder. So Geetanjali, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Tell us, when did the idea come about, and the startup and the leap of faith? How did all that happen?
So the idea of the startup came when my son was finally born, and it was a struggle of about 10 years, which included 5 miscarriages, 2 failed IVFs, a brush with ovarian cancer. Okay. And I have been through all stages of emotions, and then finally when I conceived, and then I realized that what was going wrong in that 10 years. And those are the thoughts which provoked me to do something, because it was now my time to give back to the society.
Sure.
So yeah, that's how it started.
That's excellent. And tell us what exactly Fertility Dose does, because there's medical procedures involved. There's also increasing intervention as far as the law is concerned about regulating how IVF is done, which we'll talk about a little later. But what exactly does Fertility Dose do?
So, Fertility Dose is India's leading platform for couples who are trying to conceive. And we are a patient-centric platform. So, when I started, I realized there's nothing patient-centric. So, we started with building awareness and education around this topic, because it is really important that you know what you should be doing and what you are in for. Because IVF is a complicated process. So, you can't just jump into it like that without preparation.
Right.
So, basically, Fertility Dose is a platform which provides early interventions through early diagnosis, lifestyle therapeutics interventions, and then doctor matching. So we do a lot of work with the patients to make sure that their journey is hassle-free and it is an informed decision.
Fertility Dose is her startup. It helps couples unable to conceive in a bit of a 360-degree way. Would I be right in saying that, Geetanjali?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's also, there's a lot of furrowed brows and thumb noses around the whole procedure of IVF and the fact that, you need medical intervention for conception. We're not really I know it sounds like a horrible generalization, but I would like to think that we're not really a society that's very open about discussing this, but very open to criticism and to cynicism as well. So you've had to face that when you started?
Yes. In fact, would you believe if I say that 33 million couples, which is 1 in 10 couple, goes through infertility as we speak, and they're increasing everywhere. So that means there is an infertility issue almost every second house. But nobody talks about it. It's a hush-hush thing.
It's also, I've read a few articles saying that it's related to lifestyle as well, the kind of lifestyles that we lead, the kind of stress that we are under. But we tend to underplay that, don't we? And fertility as a problem is not really up there in the topmost list of problems, is it?
No, it's not there. In fact, it's not there in the government list of problems also. I had a meeting with the government officers and they said, if there is anything on decreasing the population, please come to us. But we don't even recognize there's an infertility issue. So that is the depth of the problem that we are talking about. But
sure, but it is something that needs to be. I mean, on the one hand, there is of course that whole discussion again, about depopulation. There is that whole family planning bit as well, and on the other hand, of course, there is the fact that everyone wants to have that new life that they want to nurture. There are a lot of, it's a very intensely personal decision, but increasingly legislation has also come in about IVF and what to do about it, etc. What are your views about that?
So yes, legislation is a good move because there were a lot of unethical players in the market who were ripping off the patients, because this is a matter of desperation. When you want to have a kid, Plus, there is a lot of social pressure on the couples to have a kid, and not everybody is, as privileged as maybe us in metros to say no to their parents, or even their parents are not ready to understand. So, in those situations, it becomes really difficult, and they land up into unethical places.
Also, I think the gender bit, no? I mean, that's another very, very big problem, I'm sure. Have you had to face that as well?
Yeah. Interestingly, I think.
Do people come to you and say, IVF kar do, but ladka chahiye?
Haan ji, hamare paas. Yes. We get this almost on an average 1 or 2 calls every month where they say that, is there any way that we can, are you sure you can help us with a boy child?
And just to underline it, gender determination is illegal by law.
It's illegal, and it's not possible through IVF also.
Sure.
So one should not go to IVF with that mindset.
That's important to know. And it's also important to know that Geetanjali is actually walking the talk. She's had to face problems. 5 miscarriages, you said, yeah?
Yes, it was a difficult phase of my life where every year I would start with hope, get pregnant, and then within the 10th or the 12th week, which is the first trimester, I would go through a miscarriage, and then I would be really down, and then I'll pull up myself up towards the second half of the year and say, okay, let me try again and let me perfect or set the things right.
There's the noble thought of helping others, not go through the pain that you have gone through, Geetanjali, but there's also, electricity bills, office bills, people who you employ, salaries to be paid, etc. So what's the money scene like? What's the funding scene like, considering everyone seems to be talking about the funding winter and all of that? What's your scene?
Okay, so I will, not only we face funding winter, but women entrepreneurship again.
Okay.
So a startup led by women faces double problem when we try to walk that path. So frankly speaking, I am bootstrapping, and I'm happy bootstrapping because I'm building it the way I want to build it. But funding hasn't come yet. Maybe.
Right. But are you trying?
Yes, I'm trying, maybe sometime soon.
And you say that being a woman entrepreneur has its own unique hurdles, yeah?
Yes.
You want to talk about that a little? You want to tell us what kind? I mean, it'd be lovely to know, because we forget, as I said, in our generalization and in our judgment, we forget that some things that we take for granted are actually hurdles or privileges for a lot of people. They have to fight hard for what we take for granted. So what are these kind of hurdles that you have faced, for example?
I think it's a mindset. I'm not generalizing here. Entrepreneurship has come a long way since I started 5 years back. But initially, when I would go for these meetings with the investors and in these incubation or accelerator programs, the first thing after listening to the basic idea, they would be all thrilled that, okay, it is interesting space to work on. But then they would keep looking for, is there any other co-founder? Is there a male co-founder who takes care of the money and the business side of it?
Oh, really?
So somehow there is an mindset that if there are women founders, they would be taking care of the content and the softer side of the business.
I'm making the air quotes, the more creative side, yeah.
Exactly.
But and doubly so because you're also, I mean, the subject of your startup is also something that a lot of people, what is the need for more population and all of that.
I know. And then they would say, very politely, they would say that it's a niche. So it's a niche.
But I'm 100% sure that you must be facing this all the time when you're talking about your startup, which is that what is the need for this? Because we can do with less people and all of that. No, it's a little heartless to say that, but what are your counters to that?
I only say one-liner that if somebody really wants to have a child, it is their personal decision, and there should be proper facilitation for that. I am nobody to make that decision on their behalf.
And it's not just a medical procedure, it's also a lifestyle kind of a thing that you also have. You want to talk about that a little? What are the kind of services that Fertility Dose provides?
Yes, so basically we say that we'll facilitate and help you wherever you are in the journey. If you are early in the journey and want to go for natural conception, then we have Natural Pregnancy Preparation Program, which includes diet, yoga, fertility counseling, a lot of connect with the other couples who are building a community and helping them take a good informed decision. Because I have been in that space, and I know a lot of times I just jumped into things because people were telling me to. they were saying that, my friend's friend, brother had gone to that doctor, just go there.
Sure.
So I wanted to cut that. And that similarly, we have the other program for IVF care program. If you have decided or wanting to go or have to go, then we help you plan that whole procedure.
In vitro fertilization. IVF stands for in vitro fertilization. Test tube babies at one point of time, they were also called, no?
There's one lady who came to us. Her mother-in-law said that, are you going to bring the child in a polythene bag? Because it's a test tube baby. So it's supposed to be in a tube.
There's international travel involved for you now, yes? You want to tell us about that?
Yes, we are very happy that we are aligned to SDG goals of reproductive health. And in that, we have been invited to London under Femtech Labs. We were India's first and only startup to be there representing in the Femtech startups. We were also there invited by US Government of Public Affairs Department, and we were trained for 10 days on technical aspects of building a startup. In Germany, there's a Do school where we won the first prize for social impact startup.
Wow. So yeah, it's been a good journey, no?
Yes, it is fruitful. Sarthak, every time a couple comes back to us and says that your help or your support or your guidance helped us go through the right way and save that hassle.
Yeah.
It's just, I think my task as a startup founder is done.
And no amount of funding can ever equal the joys.
don't want to say that on radio, maybe.
No, not you. You shouldn't be. You should be. You did the right thing by saying no. Funding is required.
Yes.
It is very much so. But we are living in the world of social media, Geetanjali. So it's only proper that we ask you that the journey that you have taken. There must be others who will be taking their first tentative steps in that journey as well. So 3 points that you'd like them to remember or maybe forget or whatever. 3 important points that you'd like to highlight. For those people who are starting out in the same field, so to speak, or anyone who wants to experiment in the field, so to speak.
In the startup, in the Femtech.
Yeah.
Okay. So one, follow your passion, but have a very clear plan of execution, because I realized that I jumped with passion and a lot of energy, but when the execution stage came, I started to slide down and I had to learn a lot of new things. Secondly, yes, be prepared to learn new things. In my case, I had no clue of finance, and when I got, as I told earlier, the investors started asking questions, I said, okay, let me do it the right way, and I learned. So be ready to learn, do a lot of courses and prepare yourself. And third is, don't sit over it. I sat almost a 1.5 year thinking that if I start a startup on this subject, people are going to ask me about my journey. Am I ready to tell them that yes, I am an IVF mom?
Sure.
And but it wasted a lot of good time that I could have otherwise used. So don't sit over it, just start. And it's a world of social media, so anything you can delete whenever you feel it's not right.
Absolutely. It is the courage of conviction, and for having so generously shared your journey with us, and for having thought about the holistic way. We'd like to thank you for spending this time with us, Geetanjali.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So that's the startup story for today. If it triggered thought, that's great. See if something can be done. Otherwise, there's always music to play after this short little break, which we'll do. So come right back, okay?